Coach Morris, so how is practice going as you get a little bit deeper into it?
Yeah, I think you can really start to see a little bit of separation with some of the battles right now, and I think that's pretty typical in camp. Obviously, I think this comes to the time where you're 6 or 7 practices in, and not only are they physically tired, but they're also mentally tired. And so we put a lot on them, especially early during camp, and see what they can retain right now. And so there's some people that are thriving right now, and then some people that are swimming. So I think we'll give them an off day tomorrow, let their bodies rest, come back, do some situational stuff on Thursday and Friday, and then jump into our first scrimmage on Saturday. And so I think really these next 3 days will be where you see some guys really start earning some spots for the first time. I think great competition. There's still a couple really good battles going on right now where there's some people that are neck and neck. We've gone live a couple times this week, so it's been good to see who can tackle, who can process information in a hurry when the coaches aren't out there with them. So yeah, we got a lot on them right now, and I think really over the course of the next 5 or 6 practices is where you'll see people start separating and winning some jobs.
Where are you at with your quarterbacks right now?
Yeah, those guys have done a great job. So really, I like to see we're splitting them with the ones right now, and so we want to really get through these scrimmages and give them both a chance to show what they can do with the 1-0 line, with the 2-0 line, really how they process information, how they see what the defense is doing, how they take the information from the meeting room onto the field. And so both of those guys are handling it with a ton of maturity. They're competing their tails off. They're helping one another. And so not even close to name a starter right now, but it's been fun to watch those two battle.
You mentioned some separation in some of those position battles. Just who's kind of stood out to you so far that's gaining some traction?
Yeah, I think really the linebacker position first and foremost. I think we really got 3 guys that we really trust right now, and so I think really it's now moving on to who are the guys that can back those guys up right now. Up front, I think our tackles are doing a nice job right now. And then really, you got a bunch of really good interior pieces right now and figuring out how you mold those together. Gabe is so versatile. He can play center or guard. Tay continues to do a great job, not only physically, but I think Tay has really picked it up mentally. He's calling our fronts. He's seeing the defenses. He's putting us in a great position to be successful before the ball's even snapped. So that's been good to see. You look at, a guy like Johnny Dickson in there at guard, and then, you add Dylan Shaw to the equation, who's been phenomenal for us so far. And so really just trying to figure out how those pieces all mold together in the middle right there will be big for us. I think, trying to figure out who Miles Coleman's backup is right now at the main slot position. Tight ends continue to battle. I think between Trey Williams, Connor Vaughn's a guy who really is a bigger guy, 255 pounds, and allows us to do some different stuff in the run game. And then BJ continues to get better. So the tight end one is one interesting to watch over the course of the next couple of weeks. And then D-line, we're playing so many guys. We have so many guys at the defensive line position, so we're really rolling those guys in, keeping them fresh right now. And I think really, it'll be fun to see. I think Ethan Day and Bryson Haynes have really stood out at the end position. But we're not just going to play 2 ends. I mean, we need to find guys that can roll in there with them. Same thing, Richard Outland, June in the middle right there, and then finding those pieces that can come in behind them. And so, some of the battles are for starting positions right now, and then a bunch of these battles are who are the guys we can trust to roll in the game? We don't want to just rely on 4 guys up front, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and so we got to build some depth and some guys we trust to put in there.
You mentioned tight ends. How do you plan on utilizing them compared to years past in this offense?
Yeah, I think just our room is so much more complete than it's been since I've been here. And so, our first year here, you show up first day on the job, you're looking at the tight end room and it looks beautiful. And then, by your first game, those starting 3 guys aren't on your roster anymore. And so I think it took us a little bit of time to build that room. I think that's a position that it requires a unique skill set, to be big enough and fast enough and strong enough to do all the different things that we're asking them to do. So it took us a couple years to build that room, and so I think you got a couple young bucks that are growing up in Victor Aderongaboy, and then BJ, and then you add some guys like Trey and Connor that have played a ton of football other places. So love where that room is right now, and so yeah, but they all kind of bring something a little bit different. BJ's big, he's long, he's a great pass catcher. Trey's kind of your Swiss Army knife, he can do it all. And then Connor Vaughn's, kind of a big, strong guy that likes to get in there and mix it up, and you can do some different stuff in the run game. So if we had to play tomorrow, we'd use all three of them in different roles.
What kind of freshmen have kind of stepped up throughout the start of fall camp, especially on the defensive side?
Yeah, I think, first of all, if you look at, we got freshman safety coming in from Lubbock, Texas. I call him the pride of Lubbock every single day. And so it's been fun to see him come in. I think, continues to grow, get better, has made a ton of plays for us over there. And then, I think Braden Knox, a defensive end, is a guy, you kind of iffy at first, and then kind of the last 2 days he starts flashing as he starts figuring things out for us over there. And so, just not a ton of freshmen truly on this roster holistically. Another one, I think Hawkins, the running back from Oklahoma, has been phenomenal. We go live situations, a guy that just continues to stand out for us. T. Lou coming in, freshman, a little bit undersized right now. He's put on about 10 pounds. I think he was about 155 when he's got here, about 165. He's been phenomenal so far, great body control. And then Tyler Brown, local kid right down the road from Aubrey, is as fast as anybody on our team. And so, I think he's done a great job being able to stretch the field vertically, has caught some go balls. And so, pleased with where those guys are right now. Offensive line wise, I just with how deep we are up front, hopefully we redshirt those guys, give them in the weight room, allow them to gain some weight, and hopefully we're not playing near as many true freshmen as we did a year ago. But I'd say Bryce Gars on the defensive side is the guy that has really stood out.
You kind of set with Gabe at center at this point.
No, I think we've moved him around a little bit. We want him to get comfortable, but I think with Tay Yanta coming on, gives us the ability to play him at guard and somewhere he's really comfortable. Has played a ton of football. He's a great puller in all of our gap scheme stuff. And so, I think Gabe's going to allow us to be versatile up front. And really it's just about us finding the best three of all those pieces in the middle right now.
Is that going to be a strength for you guys, considering how much, you got Gabe back, you got some other guys that look like they're pretty good players?
Yeah, I think, and just the size right now, I was talking the other day, just watching the field goal team, something as simple as that, right? And, in the past where, it might have been a struggle of like, hey, what bodies are big enough to put in here and hold gaps on a field goal play. And right now, we just have a ton. You got Willie Goodacre, 335 pounds. You got Dylan Shaw, who's 320. Jim Toe's 335 pounds. So just a bunch of big, stout guys in there. And so I think definitely the size and the maturity of us up front is a lot different than what it was a year ago.
Defensive back room seems to have the most depth in quite a while for this program. What have you kind of seen, especially from these Sam Houston guys progressing throughout fall camp in the system? Yeah,
I think the two Sam Houston corners are as advertised. They play a ton of ball. They know the scheme. They're competitive. They're gritty. They love to play football each and every day. So it's fun to watch those guys compete. I think on the back end, like Will Jones is probably our biggest acquisition. A guy that's older. He's a leader. Elite speed back there on the back end. It's been fun to watch him close on some balls and be disruptive. And then Evan Jackson continues to get better. I think this scheme really fits him and allow him to play some free safety and be a center fielder back there. Done some great things for us. And then Pat Smith's a guy that brings a bunch of, maturity, a bunch of playing experience to the equation. So, that's a good thing for us. And, I think that when you look and you're saying, hey, there's a bunch of guys that have played a ton of football and you're not relying on one different guy, right? And so, we'll continue to build Quentin Hammonds up at the nickel position. that's something where, he's never played it, but now after spring and getting into it, I think has a good feel for the position. Him and B.J. Allen there, I think will be a good 1-2 punch.
How big was it to get Evan back this year?
Yeah, I think anytime you bring a guy back and they go through spring and they've been at North Texas, they know everything about North Texas, they know about our culture, what we expect, how we practice. I think anytime you have any continuity in football in general, it's a huge deal, right? And I think, that's a struggle. Obviously, everybody knows that. But, I think with bringing, these Sam Houston guys on the defense, really being able to set the culture and the tone over there, has been awesome. Like Trey Fields he practices as hard as any person I've ever been around in my life. And it's sometimes where I'm telling Coach Cassidy, like, hey, let's take some reps off of him because he won't go half speed. Like he knows one thing and that's see ball, get ball. And so it's been fun to watch those guys practice and then set the standard of how we want it to look.
Yeah, because Evan was in the portal there for a while. Was that a situation where you guys guys had to kind of re-recruit
We,
them?
yeah, we've had a couple of them, and I think when it becomes the cool thing to do, and you go test the market and you see what's out there, and I think Evan and I had great open communication the whole entire time, and I think I respect that, and I think at the end of the day, he knew that this was a great opportunity to play in this defense, he fit in it, and to come showcase what he can do, and come in here and be a difference maker for us, and so. Yeah, super excited. Anytime that you're able to keep some of these really good players that have played a lot of football for you is a win for us.
Well, you said he fits the defense particularly. What is it about Evan that fits this particular scheme?
Well, I think now he can just play, a true free safety, and at times, last year in the 3-high scheme, he's totally in our run fits at times, and he's not a big downhill boundary safety. That's just not. He's not big enough. That's not his skill set. His skill set, he can man coverage. He's got great athleticism. He has great range. He has great speed. And so I think, him being able to play a true, 1-high safety and a field safety and some quarters looks allows us to do some cool things and disguise some stuff. He's a good blitzer and just very versatile.
You guys are about 3.5 weeks away from kickoff, and you still have a few more scrimmages left. What are some expectations you'll have going into those last few scrimmages, especially going into the season?
Yeah, there's just so much to cover in a short amount of time. I mean, I think, we got the majority of everything installed on both sides. And now we get a day off tomorrow and then really get into some situational football. I think that one area we weren't very good in last year. I mean, you think back just at the end of some of these games in 2-minute situations on both sides of the ball, on third downs, on fourth downs, in some really red zone situations, weren't very good as an offense in the red zone. So I think us being able to really hone in and key on some of this situational football and learn and grow and really be able to attack in those situations and capitalize one way or another on it. And so that's really some of the focuses that'll come up in the next week or so.
You mentioned Trey Fields and how hard he's been practicing. Do you feel like he's going to be the anchor on this defensive staff?
Yeah, I mean, I think his leadership qualities, I think, anytime you have a guy that this is his last year to play football, right? And I think he's a kid that'll have a chance to play at the next level, but this is his last shot at it. And so I think it's been fun to watch his maturity and come out and practice each and every day like it is his last time to be on the field. And so I think that carries over. I think young people see that. I think the rest of the defense sees it. I think he leads by example each and every day. And, he's somebody we're pointing out, every single day in film of, hey, this is the standard, this is how to do it.
Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah. So how's practice going here to get deeper into?
Practice going great. Nice competition everywhere. Got people battling everywhere. Practice is going great.
How's that defense coming together?
Defense going great. The new staff, they come in here getting things together, making, putting everywhere where they need to be, putting people in best position possible. Everything just coming along.
What kind of made you want to stay and come back to North Texas?
Why not? Like, everybody got decisions to make. I just thought that wasn't my best decision. So, why not stick it here for as long as I can, and be the best person here and be the best person for this team I can be.
This defensive back group seems to have a lot of depth compared to years past.
Most definitely.
For a while. What have you kind of seen from those guys and how have they been kind of able to help you out, especially in the system?
From transfers to just freshmen or newcomers, everybody just bring that competitive edge, It's always pushing everybody to be the best they can be every day. And, with competition like that, it's no choice but to get better every day.
Hey, Coach talks a little bit about Will Jones, a key addition. What have you seen from him?
Will Jones, hey, speedy. I don't know if he's hit 23. Yeah, he got some wheels on him. But Will, he a great person, great leader for this safety group. Another addition that's going to help the defense go,
Did you want to just kind of explore your options out there in the portal after last season, or what went into
Yeah, it was just some tough times going on. Not much I really want to speak on, but just some times going on behind closed doors, and had to make a decision. And ultimately, I found myself back here where I'm happy and where I'm excited to play.
Yeah, what led you back here?
The coaching, everything I just saw. It's already a great fit for me here. Bringing in the new coaches, seeing the defense we're running. Who wouldn't want to be in this defense?
How has your transition been into this new defense so far? What do you think your role is kind of going to be in this defense?
think my role will still be the same, you know, make plays. You got to make routine plays. Going into it, obviously it's a whole new defense, but being able to translate the old defense to the new defense is really easy, and it's not complicated at all. So my mind's moving real quick, and I'm able to just transition very well.
The coach said you fit particularly well in this scheme. What is it about this scheme that makes you such a good fit for it?
Just allows me to play, allows me to be fast, allows me to control the defense, like talking, you know, because, you know, we're the main vocalist of the defense, you know, so it just allows me to run the show.
You know, Quentin Hammonds is a returning freshman from last year, and how do you feel like he's kind of progressed since his freshman year?
Oh, phenomenal. You know, Quinn, he's been doing a great job ever since he got here. You know, another one of those guys with that competitive edge. You know, if he do something bad, you know, the next play, you know, he coming, you know. Quinn, he always had that competitive edge, competitive nature. So, you know, Quinn, his ability to progress and learn the defense, you know, is just amazing.
You mentioned a couple guys in that room and how it's so competitive right now. What do you feel like you were able to show kind of last year heading into this game?
Heading into the camp, the ability to basically just move and tackle, being aware of the situations, of the people around me, how to work around the defense, and allow me to help put other people in better positions.
All right, cool.
All right, thank you.
Hey, Johnny, so how's fall practice going as you get deeper into it?
Nah, it's good. It's always a great grind for everybody. This really builds the family culture for the team. Like fall camp, you get to see everybody every day, get to see how everybody act, just getting to know everybody.
Looks like you got your guys' interior of your offensive line is going to be a big strength this year with Gabe coming back, yourself, some of the guys you brought in. How's that group looked as you get deeper into camp?
I mean, the group, we just compete and work every day. Like, our biggest goal is to just run the ball. Like, if we don't have to throw a pass every game or have to throw a pass at all, then that means we had a great game and we always feel good. So hopefully, and we're going to be very dominant this year.
How's that interior trio kind of coming together?
It's a great group. It's a lot of guys competing. I mean, it's just work. Everybody comes in and work. Everyone comes in with a great mind, a great attitude, and it's just a very competitive atmosphere every day.
There are a few guys on this offensive line that came in with experience from the transfer portal. Well, you know, how have they kind of helped you out on the offensive line, get used to this offense again?
It's a little bit easier, like dealing with older guys coming in the portal. Like, they handle their business, they pick up things quicker. It's just an easier process with working with those guys and getting those guys up to speed.
You guys got Gabe back this year. You know, they're trying in some different spots. How big of a boost is that going to be for you guys to have him back in the middle there with the rest of them?
It's always a great boost to have Gabe. Gabe's been here his whole career, and Gabe is one of the heart and souls for this whole team. So it's great knowing that he's here. It's great.
You've been able to work with some of the new quarterbacks in Reese and Drew Mestemaker. And what have you kind of seen from them and how they've been able to help you guys out on offense?
Both of them are great. I mean, I just handle my business up front, and I block for them. Whoever's back there, they get the job done, and I'm happy.
You guys have some great size up front this year. You think that's going to be something that's going to play in your favor, just the girth that you brought in?
Yeah, it's going to play a big role. You're going to see a lot of big runs hit this year.
So the coach mentioned you guys have had a couple live segments. You had your first scrimmage on Saturday. Just how has it been playing against that new defense so far?
Man, it's fun. Coach Cassidy, he brings it. Those new defensive guys over there, they bring it every day. Like, it's just a grind. Like, it's fun to compete every day.
And you kind of talked about it, but a goal that we kind of heard is that this offense plans to emphasize running the ball more. Just what have you kind of seen differences-wise in that offense so far?
Really, it's just us as players, we're owning it. Like, it's not so much on the coaches. Us as players, we're taking that accountability and we're owning it to make that a key part of the offense.
And then for you personally heading into this year, what are the biggest things you're focusing on? What do you think were the biggest lessons that you took away from last year?
Just being a great team player, really. That's my biggest thing, is making sure everybody else is good. And if I know they're good, I'm going to play good.
You know, Coach Leftwich came in a little bit later so far in spring. What has he been able to kind of implement with y'all?
Coach Krill. Coach
Oh,
Krill.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah.
Nah, Coach Krill, he's an amazing coach. He knows what he's talking about, and he gets his job done. Like I really appreciate him, really do.
It sounds like you guys are still kind of juggling where everybody fits in there, moving game guard, and playing different people different places. You feel pretty good about the way this is all going to maybe come together at the end when you guys make those final decisions?
Yeah, I feel good. With who's ever in there and whoever playing, I know they're going to do the right thing and the best thing because I know our coaches have us in the best interest.
Does last year kind of help you guys with that? Because obviously you guys put out 10 different starting lineups. Guys were kind of constantly going in and out. Does that help you kind of understand that anyone who goes out there, the job gets out?
Yeah, it's always great to know that like you can encounter anybody. Like all the guys that we have here, like I can sit back and know if I get hurt or if I go down that he's going to come in and do the exact same thing or even better.
You guys have your first kind of big scrimmage on Saturday. What are you hoping to see when you guys get out there for a live look?
Just really like everybody competing. Like that's what I love to do. I love to compete, and I love everybody with a high energy and a high boost of everybody just wanting to work. Like I want everybody to look like when you come see North Texas play, like those guys are hard-nosed football players.
All right, well, thanks, John.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.